All right, folks, an absolute beautiful day here in Northeast Tennessee. Folks, every day in Campbell County, Tennessee is beautiful, even a rainy, cool Friday. Anyway, folks, as you can see, the green is coming. Spring is here, and I am so thankful. I'm ready for some leaves on the trees, for some heat, believe it or not. Anyway, folks, a wild edible walk and talk. I'm going to talk about whatever, but I will be talking about wild edibles and medicinal plants, those that I see right here on our property. And yeah, so we're going to walk and talk, and I will be pausing this quite a few times because it gets quite boring. I may not pause it if I get on something that I can talk about. Anyway, over here on the side of the mountain where it's very noisy and trafficy. Anyway, folks, part way down, already out of breath, but thought, I seen this new mayapple patch and thought, man, I need to do a walk and talk video. But yeah, it's a new mayapple patch, at least new to me. I haven't seen this one before. Of course, mayapple are all over this mountainside. Folks, I am not an expert. Make sure you consult with a local expert before you go eating anything, period. Learn it yourself. You can't go wrong when you learn things yourself. Folks, this is just what I know, what I do, what I have learned. I've done that. I've done it. My studying for me. I've done it for me. So I will know. And I just kind of, you know, give out a little info, but it's not like I'm an expert. Mayapple, folks, mayapple. So it's just a droopy plant. These plants get huge. Uh, just spread, and it's just they take over an area. Folks, these plants are very toxic, especially the root. But so you don't want to eat the plant. All you want to eat is the fruit of the mayapple plant. And you want that fruit when it is ripe, only when it is ripe. You eat that fruit when it is not ripe, it's going to give you a stomach ache, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But you want to eat it when it's ripe. That's when it's good. And yeah. Anyway, folks, let's travel on. I'm going to pause you for a few minutes. We're going to find some other things. I want to encourage you to learn your wild edibles, folks. Learn those wild edibles. In the day and age we live in the time we live in, it is so important to know your wild edibles. Your great, if you're my age, your great grandparents knew their wild edibles. They knew their wild edibles. And if you're my age, your grandparents were more than likely preppers. It was just the way of life. And then knowing your wild edibles was just the way you lived. Think about the Native Americans and all the things they knew. The hunters, the gatherers, they knew their wild edibles. They weren't considered crazy. You know, everybody was a prepper. Everybody knew their wild edibles, and it goes on and on. Anyway, folks, so yeah, learn those wild edibles. Think about this. You can prep all you want. Prepping's a good thing. You can have a homestead. Homesteading, growing, and raising your own food is an excellent thing. But if you do those things and you know your wild edibles, your wild medicinals, you're pretty much insured on survival in any kind of situation. Now listen, got in an argument one time with a very big homesteading slash prepping YouTube channel. Got into a big argument back and forth for a while because I was saying how important it was to know your wild edibles. And they were attacking me, literally attacking me, saying it's not important to know your wild edibles. What's important is to know homesteading and to grow food. Well, of course, that's a no-brainer. We all know that that's important, and we should all, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. You should do this. You should know how to raise animals and grow your food. I shut him up when I said, listen, picture a horrifying situation. World War III, a pandemic that wipes out half of the country, whatever the case may be, famine, and then picture hordes of folks coming through looking for food. Yeah, just trying to survive. They're not going to let you hoard food. They're going to wipe out your vegetable garden. And so I was telling these people, think about this, a bad situation. And somebody comes through, or maybe weather comes through, or whatever the case, and it takes everything. Maybe it's a fire. Well, then what? Well, then what? Yeah, exactly. At least you know your wild edibles. At least you can go out in the woods and get a little something to eat, huh? Oh, so what if you had to flee? Well, you going to take a duffel bag full of canned goods and dried beans on your back? Of course not. You can't do that. So you eat along the way. You eat along the way because you know your wild edibles. You get cut, well, you know some medicinals, some natural antibiotics that are out here growing. It's good to know those wild edibles and those medicinals, folks. Now, we haven't got far. So this is the Trillium right here. Trillium. Now, here on our property, we've got like the purple flower and the yellow flower. But this is edible, folks. The leaves of the Trillium are edible. And this mountain is covered in those leaves. Trillium, the leaves are edible. It's a 3-leaf. Oh, here we go. Let me go down the mountainside. Hang on, folks. Let's go down the old mountainside. There's the purple flowered one right there. It's the leaves. Of course, it has 3 leaves, but the leaves they don't have well, we've got 2 right here. Side by side. Here's the purple Trillium. The leaves are edible. Now see the leaves? What kind of leaf that is? And here's the yeller, the old yeller. Right here, right beside it, it's got more of the camouflage, camo type. Almost like trout lily. Look at that beauty. Sorry, I'm shaking, folks. Sorry. All right, let's pause it while I climb up the mountain. All right, folks, here we have Pipsissewa. Now, I have other videos up on all of these things, but so does other folks. There's lots of videos on all these plants. Today, we're not going into detail on anything, really, so you can look up for yourself. But this is Pipsissewa, and that's the Native American name. And this is, they have little berries certain time of the year, but you can eat it. You can eat the berries, you can eat the leaves. Really good for your kidneys and kidney stones. Really good for kidney stones. Pipsissewa. And it's a food as well as a medicinal. Folks, I actually feel like that if I was in a survival situation, not just a survival situation, but a really, really bad situation, something happens, kind of end of the world, kind of crazy thing. Folks, I have no doubt, and I'm not bragging by no means. There's nothing to brag on here. I've got an 8th grade education. I'm not too handsome, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I could make it without a doubt. I could survive without a doubt, and that is because I know my wild edibles, and I know wild medicinals, and I know enough to survive without any trouble. Anywhere in the southeast, I would be able to make it, and those that were with me would be able to make it. And it's not because I'm awesome. It's not because I'm smart, but it's because I have studied. I've been studying wild edibles and medicinals for a long time. And it's something you need to get started on. You don't, hey folks, let me tell you this. You take a book along with you in a survival situation, you got a book, or even the internet, YouTube, you're still going to starve to death if you haven't did hands-on studying for a long time. And you will still starve to death. You will still be in trouble. Anyway, folks, you were looking at the spice bush. And this is one of my favorite plants, trees, bushes, whatever you want to call them. It's one of my favorite. And I made a video on some spice bush tea. And you should probably check that one out. This is awesome. Now you can take these leaves, you can take little twigs, or whatever part of the spice bush plant, we'll call it a bush, the bush that you want to use. I would use the leaves at this time of year and make a delicious tea out of it. Now, the berry on these, the little fruit on these, it makes the best tea. And you can make spice, allspice type spice, and yeah. This is the spice bush. Now this is throughout our property. And anyway, it's awesome. Folks, this is a young, very young, black cohosh. And this has some medicinal value to it. This is really good for a woman with her menstrual situation there. And it takes some studying, but the black cohosh, and this is a very young one, but the black cohosh is medicinal and a widely used plant. It sure is. All right, folks, this is a little Doc Mackey. And you might think and look at it and think, oh man, there's a maple. It's not a maple. It's a Doc Mackey, and this one's a Doc Mackey. And this has a berry, produces a berry in the fall that is edible. It is edible now. Of course, there's no berry on it right now. The leaves have just come out, but I've got a video on the Doc Mackey berry, and I don't know, I think I even ate a couple of them in that last video. All right, folks, well, as you can see, we've got Trillium all around and many other things all around. Doc Mackey and everything's growing right here. But I wanted you to see this wild ginger right here. And she's an old one. But you can dig up the roots of these. Let's take a little sniff here. Look at that big one. You can take up now this is all, every one of these plants I'm showing you just cover our property. But the wild ginger, you can dig up those roots and get those roots. You can candy them. You can turn them into a spice, dry them out and turn them into a spice. Wild ginger, very edible. They say though to not eat it all the time, a whole bunch all the time for whatever reason. But let's just go right over here and look at this bloodroot. Now bloodroot is a medicinal plant. It is not edible. It is medicinal. And it is one thing it's good for is skin cancer, and that's for sure. I have used this before, and I'm going to show you why they call it bloodroot. What is that? Wow, look at there. We got the root right there. See that red color already? Now watch. Watch, we'll stab it there with a fingernail and watch it bleed. Watch it bleed blood. Huh? No, that'll heal itself. This is all over the property. And anyway, that's good. You can make a concoction out of that, a paste, and yeah, it gets rid of skin cancer, folks. It sure does. I actually had skin cancer on my nose, and that nearly ate a hole in my nose. Yeah. All right, folks, we have some lichen that has fallen out of a tree. And you've seen this. Everybody has seen this. Now, this is like a natural antibiotic for the skin, you know, a cut. You could just put it right on there. Not just... what else? You can actually process this with much soaking and draining the water, soaking and draining the water. And it's edible. It's edible. If you process it now, you might want to boil the water and drain it off, boil it and drain it off, or soak it and drain it off and just soak it and drain it off. Either way you do it, it'll give you a stomach ache if you don't do it right. And how you can tell this is rendered edible is when it doesn't have that aspirin taste. This has an aspirin-y kind of taste. And once that's gone, once you get rid of it, you can eat as much of it as you want. And it's somewhat of a natural antibiotic and antiseptic and many other things. I can't really, off the top of my head, think of everything right now. But yeah, it's good. Good. All right, folks, we've got chickweed here. Now, this is star chickweed. And I reckon that's because the old flowers look like a star. I don't know. But this is star chickweed, a very edible plant. Eat everything that grows above the ground. And the star chickweed, at least on our property here in Northeast Tennessee, is all around. I haven't seen much common chickweed around here. Now, the common chickweed, I have eaten tons of that stuff. Not literally tons, but a lot of the common chickweed. It is absolutely delicious. And that is the most common chickweed that grows in Georgia. But here in Northeast Tennessee, this, at least on our property, the star chickweed is the most popular. This is an awesome wild edible. All right, folks, so right here is our patch. Now, we've got this all over the property, but this is a nice little patch of Solomon seal. And Solomon seal, we'll get a closer look in a minute. As you can see, there's some black cohosh over there as well. But Solomon seal is an excellent plant to have around. This is a very medicinal plant, but the root of this plant is edible like food. You need to cook it. You need to take the root and cook it thoroughly, roast it or whatever you want to do to it, and render it more like food instead of so much like medicine. So it's edible, it's medicinal. Look at those flowers, haven't totally come out. See the little jingle bells underneath. Solomon seal, folks, right here. We got lots of it on the property. All right, folks, another thing we have a lot of on the property, which it's on its way out. It's on its way out. It's only around for a little while, but it literally covers just tons of our property, especially on this side of the mountain. And you're not getting a real good look at it color-wise, but it is because it's on its way out. But that is the trout lily. Trout lily, very edible, delicious. If you want to see it in a different phase, check out my video on it. I just uploaded it, I don't know, a month or so ago. But that's the trout lily. Now, the best time to eat these is when they just pop up out of the ground. Trout lily, folks. All right, folks, blue cohosh. And it is medicinal, not edible like food, but medicinal. Wow, here's a actual patch of that blue cohosh. I forgot about this. It goes up in there. We got lots of it here on the mountain. All right, folks, down here by the road. You know what? I was gonna close out, but I'm not. I want you to see one more plant if I can find it. All right, folks, out of breath, but this isn't a real good one, but it is one, and that is the cut leaf toothwort. Cut leaf toothwort. And leaves and roots, leaves and rhizomes on these. They have a, right here it is, they have a very mustardy, peppery, horseradishy kind of flavor. So the roots, I'm screaming here because I'm out of breath and the traffic were right at the bottom down here by the road. Anyway, the roots and the leaves, peppery, radishy kind of taste. And they're edible. They're around late winter, early spring. Folks, you absolutely cannot beat Northeast Tennessee for wild edibles. You just can't. There's such a variety here. It is unreal. Folks, these aren't the only things we have. The other side of the mountain, well, this side of the mountain's loaded with many other things, but the other side is completely loaded with blueberries and raspberries and wineberries and blackberries. The blueberries are unbelievable, the amount. And it goes on and on. This side is pawpaws and just so much stuff here. Anyway, folks, we'll see you.